All right, so now I want you to get your transcription workbook 1. You can close your big responsibilities and action book. You don't need your med book, your count book, nothing. Just have your transcription workbook 1 book out. And we're going to do the first 2 scenarios. As you know, it's like a thick workbook. We'll do the first 2 scenarios together, and then you can just continue on following along. Now, if I didn't say this with the med book account book, the transcription workbook, do not get it out of order. Now, in class, I'll sometimes will rip pages because it's easier to just look at the transcription you're dealing it with right in front of you. But how should I say this? If you get the pages out of order, you're messed up because it's scenario answer sheet, scenario answer sheet. So if you have the wrong doctor's order with the wrong scenario, so you just have to make sure, and the pages are numbered, but you just have to make sure that you're dealing with the right set of pages, okay? So whether you keep it stapled or what you do, I just wanted to call that to your attention. Okay, we're on page 3 here. And again, this is wanting to review now my PowerPoint. So this lecture, as I said before, I didn't create like how this PowerPoint looks. I didn't change the slides, which we're not actually not allowed to. I went to the training to become a train the trainer provided by DPH. So I noticed in my last class that the PowerPoint slides had a different name on it, but all the meds were the same. So don't be thrown off by that. So page 3, we are dealing with Chip Brown, but I think the name might be different. But this should be the same. Zantac, 150 milligram twice a day by mouth. The doctor's signature is there, so it wants to know what's the dose. So drum roll, please. Everyone should know that the dose is 150 milligrams. And then it's saying what I've been saying to you, that the strength is found on the pharmacy label. Okay, and so the strength here, ranitidine is the other name for it. The strength is always next to that and is 75 milligrams. Okay, and then take 2 tablets. That's the amount. It's telling you how many to take. It's take 2 tabs. All right, so that's a worksheet as another reinforcement to make sure you know all of that. And this is just a close-up of what we just answered, Zantac 150 milligrams. Okay, it's a close-up of what we just answered. All right, so now here's the scenario. Remember in the last video I said, well, you would get the date and time from the scenario, but you hadn't seen a scenario yet. So I just want you to be aware that this is the scenario. You have taken Chip Brown, and I believe your person is a different person. When you get to the scenario, I want you to highlight, you have taken Chip Brown to the doctor and have received medication from the pharmacy. Pretend that the date is June 11th, YR at 1 p.m. This is important. I'm putting asterisks, asterisks, and I want you to just let it sit on this slide for a second. I'm even going to underline it in red. I don't know what else to do. That is important. You need to know June 11th, 1 p.m. Why? You need to know when you took them so that you can know when your next dose of med is going to be. Okay? And you're going to always have the scenarios in front of you. So it's not that you have to commit it to memory. If you're transcribing and you get lost in the sauce, as I like to say, and you forget, just look back at the scenario. We've gone over this, that this is the staff. This is why I kept drilling it in your head. So up here, you would just get Chip Brown. And then this is the doctor, right? So this is what you're transcribing. They've circled it for you. And here's the dose, frequency, route. But now you are a pro, right? Because we've done this so many times. When I said there's a method to my madness, okay? Now, they had the order here. Here's the med sheet. So if you're following along in your transcription, you're just going next page, next page. You can see it's in order. This was already transcribed. What you're going to do is you're going to discontinue it. To discontinue it, your 3 steps, the first steps of discontinue is to X all of these boxes here. So you're going to X. Your X's will be neater than mine. Okay, that's the first step of DC. Oopsie, it's hard with the computer. Okay, and then you're going to go from corner to corner, diagonal line, DC. And what was the date? The date was June 11th, 6/11, YR, and my initials is SV. Then I go from this diagonal line to the corner, and it's DC, 6/11, YR, SV. Then you're going to transcribe the next medication here. So it's having you look at the pharmacy label, so you can go back to your page 5, I believe it would be, to see the doctor's order. But now it's just showing you the pharmacy label. So again, Chip Brown, ranitidine. Ooh, I want to make that, let me erase that. Ranitidine, ooh, hold on. Erase that. I wanted to highlight it. Ranitidine, the strength is 75 milligrams and 2 tabs is the amount. Now, here's your interchange IC. So remember we were saying, how would you know what it is? Which one's generic, which one's brand? Doop, doo, 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 drum roll. You have your generic equivalents. You have a table, brand name, generic name. So you would look up, here's Zantac. Zantac is letting you know it's the brand name, and ranitidine, HCl, is the generic. So that's how you know what to put where. Okay? It's as simple as that. We're not asking you to guess. This is something that would be on the medication information sheet, but it does not belong on your med sheet. Okay? You don't transcribe that information. So if I were writing, it'd be a little messy. It was June 11, YR. Was it June 11? Or would I have to look back? Okay, the brand is Zantac. The generic is ranitidine, and you're going to watch your spelling. All right. I don't have the previous slide in front of me. And I always tell people here, don't forget the HCl. All right, the dose was 150 milligrams. The route by mouth, frequency, I can't remember the frequency. What was the frequency? We'd have to look at it. And the strength, you'd write the frequency here. The strength was 75 milligrams. And the amount, 2 tabs. Okay, I'm going to have to see the frequency here. Hold on. So it's showing you the discharge, the discontinue. So we did that just so you can review. Yeah, June 11th. I was right about the date. Oh, the frequency was twice a day. So let's pay attention to some points here. So when I say start at the left, you have the start date, June 11th, YR. I've now shown you where to get the generic and brand equivalents. You're just going to copy. Now, hint, you're going to take your time and spell them right, all right, because it's not words you commonly use. You would put in the dose, you'd put in the route, you'd put in the frequency. This example does not happen to have any special instructions, so you would be left blank. You would then go to the pharmacy label, put in strength, put amount, okay? You would then move over to your hours column. Twice a day is 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Okay? And just like I said before, it is not possible for you to have given a dose on June 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, or even the 10th or 11th at 8 a.m. because they went to the doctor June 11th at 1 p.m. And that's why the scenario is important. I'm going to put scenario up here. That's why highlighting that date and time. Scenario was June 11th at 1 p.m. That is why it's important, because you know when your first med's going to be. Now, because it's twice a day, and what does the rule say? The rule says that your first open box is the first availability map time after your scenario. So if they want June 11th at 1 p.m. and it's a twice a day medication, 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., then your first open box is 8 p.m. Okay, and the rest of the month is open, the rest of the month is open here. Now, because it's a continuous, there's no stop date, you come here and you write continuous there, C-O-N-T. Remember your abbreviations, and you are done. That's why I tell you to loop it like that. Okay, this one is complete. Now, let's do a different type of scenario. So now they wrote posted John Smith, June 11th, YR at 1 p.m. because that is completely done. Now we're just flipping the page on your book. You've gone to another scenario. You always got to read. Come highlight all this. You know, if you read it out loud, it says use the healthcare provider's order, pharmacy label, and generic equivalents to discontinue the order and transcribe the new order on the med sheet. Please note, this is important. Do not place your initials in the medication box. You are not administering a medication at this time. This is transcription only. Okay? That's why we don't initial the box. Now, this is a doozy. If you're getting a little tired, take a little pause because we have 4 orders to transcribe here. Again, I'm going to identify the name, and I think the new transcription workbook is a different name, but everything else is the same. None of this matters, right? I'm going to jump down to my orders. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 orders. Let's do the discontinue first. Let me see. Okay, so before we do the discontinue, because it's a lot of orders, what it's going to show you is highlighting the dose on each order. Just as a way for you to kind of keep it in your mind, what's going on, and then it's going to go to the label. Let me see. So that's what it's doing. So you know that is the dose. Those are the dose for those 3 orders. And then here's the strength. So we just want to make sure by this point, you need to really make sure you 100% know how to identify the dose in every order and the strength and amount in every order. Okay, so you have 3 pharmacy labels, and I'm happy it gives you this example because, again, someone could come back home and have 20 meds. All right, so these are all chip brown, and so you could see these are the strength and amount. It's circling the strengths for you on the 3 labels. Okay, now it's just going to give you the answer sheet. So when you are practicing on your transcription workbook, if you haven't noticed by now, you have a blank med sheet, not blank, like it would have the med here that you need to discontinue, and then these would be blank for you to fill in, and then the med sheet right after it is your answer sheet. So that's why you are able to practice, erase, do it again. If you think you're going to be nervous, make a couple of copies. So between the exercise we just did and this one, you will be able to pass the test. Okay, so a couple of things I want to point out. I believe discontinue is straightforward. We shouldn't have any issues there at all. The Armour thyroid. The Armour thyroid, let me mentally bring out some things to you here, and I want you to follow along. So by the time you're at this point in the video, you should have done the blank med sheet. And so if you haven't, pause the video, do it, and then come back so we can review it together. Okay, so notice you went June 20th, okay? You went June 20th, and notice the start date is June 21st. Why? You went June 20th at 1 p.m., but the medication is a daily med, meaning it's going to be given at 8 a.m. So is it possible that you could have given this med June 20th at 8 a.m.? No, it's not. The first dose you're going to give is going to be June 21st. So that's a little tricky, okay? I'm going to put a little asterisk so you can watch that. But it happens all the time. People don't have appointments at the crack of dawn. So if the doctor says give a med daily, you know it's the next day you're starting the medication. Now, this is blank. Why? Because there wasn't a, when you look at the table for Armour-Thyroid, there wasn't a generic equivalent for that. So if they don't have it, you don't make one up. It's just Armour-Thyroid. The dose is straightforward, the route, the frequency, and the strength and amount is straightforward from the pharmacy label. Special instructions, it says give on an empty stomach. So you write that there. Then you would look back because there is no stop date, and the stop date would be CONT. Okay? Now, this one here, the third one down here, Enroll or propranolol, is going to be the same thing. It's daily in the morning, so the start date is going to be the next day because you're already past 8 a.m. There's no stop date, so it's continuous. You get these two names off of the chart. Watch your spelling. There was no special instructions, so now everyone should be good with where they get dose, route, frequency, and strength and amount comes from pharmacy label. And you're going to do 8 a.m. because it's daily, and you X all of this, and the first open box is on June 21st, and the rest of the month is open. Okay? And then now let's pay special attention down here because your test is going to be to open and close. So it'll have a certain number of days. Again, your test will have a certain number of days. So the scenario is June 20th. The start date is June 20th because although you went at 1, you still have two other map times, 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. on June 20th. The generic and brand you're going to get from the chart equivalents. The dose, route, frequency from the doctor's order. Pharmacy label, strength and amount from pharmacy label. So everyone should be good with that. And then right here, remember I said before you move on from the doctor's order, put everything. This is another tip. People forget. If you don't put that special instructions right away, you might move on and forget. So special, oh, this color is too dark. For special instructions for 10 days. Okay, so you write that in. Now, you know the map times is 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. Now, for 10 days, let me show you something. It says the stop date is June 30th, right? You're going to figure that out in the end. And the reason is by doses, because if you counted 10 days on your fingers from June 20th, see what you would get. June 20, June 21, June 22, June 23, 24th, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. You notice that? When you count it on your hand, you would put a stop date of June 29th, which would be an error. Okay? You're going to have to rewind that a couple of times. It would be an error. And the reason it would be an error is because every dose needs 10 days. And the fact that they went June 20th at 1 p.m., that means on June 20th, they didn't get the 8 a.m. dose, right? Because it was already passed. So they're going to get it on the next day. So if we count the doses here, follow along with me. 21st, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 doses. Every time frame needs the number of doses for the number of days. So since it's for 10 days, 8 a.m. needs 10 doses. And if you do that, you see that the person gets a dose on June 30th. So June 29th, if you count it on your fingers, would be incorrect because their last dose is going to be on June 30th. And you X the rest of the month, which is just 1 month. Then 4 p.m., because they went June 20th at 1 p.m., they would get a dose June 20th at 4, and you would count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you would X the rest of the month, and the same for 8 p.m. So the last day is June 30th. Okay? We did this math already, so we don't have to review that. And now one thing I wanted to go over is that a doctor, for example, if you were given someone Tylenol 100 milligrams, and the doctor says, oh, you call the doctor, oh, it's not working. And they say, okay, change it to 200 milligrams. Just because they didn't use the word DC, Tylenol 100 milligrams, and order and start Tylenol 200 milligrams, a change, that's what it implies. It means DC, the older one, and transcribe the new order. Okay, that makes sense? So they just said change, and they didn't use the words. They didn't state it like this, but a change means to DC the old med and write transcribe the new one. Again, we talked about posting the orders. And verify is the second person. So I've talked to you about map being everything being a double check. There's going to be someone who posts, someone who verifies. Now, may you give meds if it's not verified yet? And the answer is yes, because you want to give, the goal is to administer medication as soon as it's ordered. Now, if there is no staff to verify, you can give the medication, and when the second staff comes in, they will verify. Okay?